Welcome into college football now. I am Harrison Graham. Football season is officially over. The Super Bowl is gone and done with. College football has been done for a few weeks, which means we can transition into spring football and college football, which means recruiting 2 days away from National Signing Day. And we're talking about Alabama's 2020 recruiting class. It's a very good one. 26 commits in total, 4 5-stars, 18 4-stars, and 4 3-stars as well. Now, they did get jumped. They're now the number 2 recruiting class in the country behind the Georgia Bulldogs, according to 24/7 Sports composite rankings. Number 3 in the ESPN recruiting rankings. Number 1 in 24/7's own recruiting rankings, not the composite. And then number 3 in Rivals. So in the top 3 across the board, 2 in the composite, battling Georgia for that number 1 spot. Can I get a Roll Tide? I know it was a bit of a down year over in Tuscaloosa. 11-2 is pretty good for most programs, not necessarily for Alabama. Trying to get back to the college football playoff, trying to get back to winning national championships. Let's hope the Tide can get back to doing that in 2020. So let's get Roll Tides in the comments section. Now let's talk about this recruiting class, starting with, I think, the most exciting player in the 2020 class, and that is quarterback Bryce Young, number 2 player in the country, number 1 quarterback and dual threat quarterback. You look at the highlights here. I compare him to a undersized Deshaun Watson. You see the classic lazy national comparisons. Oh, he's Russell Wilson because he's 5'11 and he's mobile. I think he's more like Deshaun Watson. He looks to throw more than he looks to run. He's a creative player in the pocket. He dances, looks to buy some time and make plays down the field. Sure, he's a willing runner, but he wants to deliver the football. He is a pass-first quarterback. Make no mistake about it. I'm excited for Bryce Young. This quarterback competition should be interesting. Sure, Mac Jones enters the spring as the presumed starter, but Bryce Young's an early enrollee. He will compete. Alabama as a whole has 13 early enrollees. To his younger brother, Talia Tagovailoa, will compete as well. 3-man quarterback battle. Who do you guys think should be Bama's 2020 quarterback? Let me know in the comments section. Should be a good competition. Next guy here, we got Will Anderson, the number 1 weak side defensive end in the country, number 2 overall defensive end in the country, number 17 overall player in this class. This guy just gets after quarterbacks, okay? 6'3", 233 pounds. He's got room to grow with that frame. Expect him to be 245, 250 by the time he steps on the field. He's just a pass rushing menace, is Will Anderson. I'm excited to watch this guy play at the college level. Usually, first-year defensive players don't get a lot of playing time for Nick Saban. I think this guy has a chance to. Alabama the last couple of years hasn't had that typical Nick Saban defense. Anderson will have a chance to compete right away. Now, his run defense leaves a little to be desired, but he gets after the quarterback, and he can have an impact as soon as he's on campus, which he already is as an early enrollee. Okay, Tide fans, we've got a lot of Alabama gear for you guys. Chatsports.com/Bama sale. We got this quarter zip. We've got all kinds of gear for you guys with our partners, Fanatics. Chatsports.com/Bama sales. Tons of stuff, up to 50% off. A lot of these hoodies up to 30% off. Shoes up to 30% off. Tons of gear. Chatsports.com/Bama sale. Take advantage of these deals today. They're not going to last forever. Next player here, we got Chris Braswell, the defensive end out of Baltimore, Maryland. Number 2 weak side defensive end in the country. Top 20 overall player. Again, another pass rusher. 220 pounds. He needs to grow. He might be more of one of those typical candidates who not play a lot as a freshman for Nick Saban, but still a 5-star recruit. He will grow into that frame and be a beast for Alabama. This next guy is interesting. Top-ranked athlete in the country, Drew Sanders. Literally played every position except for offense and defensive line in high school. Quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, safety, linebacker. He did it all in high school. Drew Sanders. He reminds me a lot of Leighton Vander Esch of the tape I've seen on him. He just flies around sideline to sideline linebacker. He tackles well. He hits hard. He can cover slot receivers and tight ends. I expect him to play linebacker for Nick Saban. 6'5", 232, so he's a taller linebacker than normal, as is a Leighton Vander Esch for the Dallas Cowboys. Played at Boise State. Number 22 overall player in the country. I don't know where he'll play for sure. I think he's a linebacker, but he's going to have opportunities to play several positions for Nick Saban. I expect him to be a big special teams player as well, especially as a freshman. Demouy Kennedy, our next player up here, out of Theodore, Alabama. Top 40 overall player, number 3 inside linebacker in the country, 6'3", 215. He's got room to grow as well. I keep in mind, a lot of these kids, they're big, 6'3", 6'4". Like, yeah, the weight will come, but that's just part of enrolling in college. All these guys right here, early enrollees, 13 overall players for Alabama have enrolled early. It's incredible how Nick Saban is able to get these guys on campus and get into spring ball, which is so important because you hit the weight room, do the offseason program. That is why Nick Saban is a well-oiled machine over there in Tuscaloosa, and Alabama is competing for championships year in and year out. Next player here, we got Jase McClellan, the 4-star running back. We know Alabama, they always got good running backs coming in. We'll see what type of role he plays as a freshman. Probably not much. He'll grow into a role as he gets older. Timothy Smith, now, he is not enrolled, but he is committed. He was the Florida Gators tried to make a late push, but Alabama was able to get him committed again. Wednesday is National Signing Day officially. But Timothy Smith, a beast on the defensive line. Brian Branch, the 4-star safety, number 60 overall player in this class. They're losing Xavier McKinney, so we'll see if he gets any playing time at safety. Next player up, we got Quandarrius Robinson, number 64 overall player, outside linebacker, 4-star player for Nick Saban. Lots of defensive talent in this class, which I like because it's been a couple of years since Alabama's had a top-flight defense, at least up to their standards. Still been good defensively, but not that top 3 or 4 defense in the country that we're so used to seeing. Next guy, we've got Roydell Williams, again, another running back, top 100 player in this class, number 76 overall. I'm excited about the running backs Alabama has brought into this class. You got Najee Harris back, so he could be a redshirting candidate. We will see what happens with Roydell Williams once he steps on campus. Bama fans, you want more Alabama videos? You got to subscribe. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. More subscribers equals more videos on the channel. We want to ramp up our college football coverage here as we get into spring ball. We did a bunch of stuff, for the college football playoff, early National Signing Day. We had a bunch of videos for you guys as well. Expect a lot of videos on the channel college football-wise, but if you want more Bama stuff, we need to get a lot of subscribers from this video. Hit that big red button, and we will keep rolling out the Roll Tide content. Next video here, Tyrone Jones, the 4-star wide receiver. Bama's got a bunch of good receivers, and a lot of them decided to stay on campus. Devontae Smith came back. We'll see if he has a role as a freshman. Jackson Bratton, the inside linebacker, 4-star here, just another defensive player, number 155 player in this class. Now, this guy, he's very intriguing to me. Christian Story. I've watched this guy a lot. I've looked into him a lot. Played quarterback mostly in high school. I'll be curious to see if Nick Saban and this Alabama coaching staff gives him an opportunity to play quarterback at Alabama. It's going to be tough with Bryce Young being there, but he's an elite athlete. He's got a strong arm, and he's big. He's bigger than Bryce Young. So I'll be curious to see where he fits in. Maybe he transitions to playing safety or something like that. But Christian Story, a premier athlete, a 4-star player, decided to go to Alabama. Could have played quarterback for sure at some other programs, but he decided to roll with the Tide. Jamarian Latham, the defensive tackle, 4-star, top 200 player in this class. He's on campus as well. He is an early enrollee, one of 13 that Alabama has. Excited to see what he can bring to this Alabama defense. Then we've got Javon Baker. Now, he is a commit, but he is not signed. So let's keep an eye on this kid, Javon Baker, see if he flips on National Signing Day. This Wednesday could be a flip candidate here. 4-star receiver. It would be a tough loss for Alabama, but with Devontae Smith and that wide receiver core, some of those guys coming back, he might decide to go elsewhere. So keep an eye on Javon Baker on if he firmly commits coming up this Wednesday. Now let's take a look at the SEC recruiting rankings. No surprise, we see this every single year. Georgia and Alabama keep flip-flopping for that top spot as we sit right now on Monday. Georgia has the number 1 recruiting class, Bama just behind them at number 2, LSU number 3 in the SEC, number 4 nationally. Texas A&M is 6th nationally. Auburn is 7th nationally. 5 of the top 7 recruiting classes are in the SEC, which is why we see the most NFL talent come out of the SEC. That's kind of how it works. Alabama just behind Georgia. We'll see if they can make a push for that number 1 recruiting class. Who will win the SEC in 2020? I think this is a fascinating question because LSU just won the SEC, won the national championship, magical season for Joe Burrow and those boys, but I think they are a prime regression candidate. Burrow's gone. A lot of talent on both sides of the ball are gone. Justin Jefferson, a lot of that defense as well. I think there's no reason to think that Alabama can't come back and win the SEC next season. Let me know what you guys think. It's a competitive conference year in and year out. I'll be curious to see what happens next season. Keep it rolling here with this recruiting class for Alabama. Malachi Moore, the 4-star safety, number 209 overall player in this year's class. Another 4-star wide receiver here, Trayshawn Holden, number 232 overall. Bama bringing in a ton of wide receivers in this year's class. That's what you got to do in modern college football. You got to be bringing in 4 or 5 of these guys every single year. Jaquez Robinson, the top 300 player, 4-star cornerback, a couple of corners in this class as well. Alabama corner play has not been good the last couple of years. They got to get better at the cornerback position. Hopefully Jaquez Robinson can help them do that. Jason Jones, the 4-star defensive tackle, number 319 overall player in this class, needs to put on some weight. I think he's a redshirt candidate, but he's got some talent. There is no doubt about that. Then we've got Javion Cohen, offensive tackle, 4-star, big body here, needs some technique work, but an opportunity to come in and play in the next couple of years for Nick Saban and this Alabama team. Number 331 overall player. He's a little lower because his technique isn't quite there, but he's got the frame, he's got the body, he's got the ability to grow into a great SEC offensive lineman. Shout out your favorite player in this 2020 class. I'm rolling with Bryce Young, and that's not just because I'm doing an Alabama video. I think he is electric. He's fun to watch. The way this guy can manipulate in the pocket is really, really exciting. I'll say it now. I think there's a good chance that he starts games this year for Alabama as a true freshman, which is pretty rare for Nick Saban. Yeah, it happened with Jalen Hurts, but that was a weaker quarterback room. Mac Jones did some nice things at the end of this year and will be a senior this year. I think Bryce Young plays as a freshman, though. I don't know if it'll be week 1, but he will play. Bryce Young is my favorite player in this year's class. I want to hear from you. Who do you guys think, or who is your favorite player in the 2020 recruiting cycle? A couple more guys here. We got Jamil Burroughs, the 4-star defensive tackle. Huge body again. He needs to kind of muscle up a little bit. He's my guy Tom Downey says beef is back on the menu for the Dallas Cowboys. Well, Jamil Burroughs is the definition of beef being back on the menu. He is a huge body for that Alabama defensive line. I think he will redshirt and kind of well round that body and be ready to go as a redshirt freshman. Ronald Williams, a 4-star JUCO player, which how rare is that for a JUCO guy to go to Alabama? But he was recruited by a ton of schools. I know Texas A&M made a late push for him. He decided to roll with the Tide. The guy's just a playmaker. Ton of interceptions at the JUCO level. He did a lot of cat blitzes as well. He'll blitz the quarterback out of that nickel and corner spot. He can play nickel. He can play outside. He could play some safety as well. He's got the ball skills for it, and he's a willing tackler. That is what I like most about Ronald Williams. I mentioned earlier they need to upgrade at corner, which is why they're bringing in an experienced JUCO player like Williams. Be curious to see what his role is. Damian George, 3-star offensive tackle, 6'6", 348. Now, the technique is not there, okay? He was just able to bulldoze people at the high school level, but if he can upgrade in that area, the body is there. He's already a huge, huge body, but it's going to take a couple of years for this guy. But if he can fine-tune some of his game, he will have a chance to be a big-time offensive tackle. Kyle Edwards, another 3-star running back. I kind of think Josh Jacobs here. Under-recruited guy. Bama's given him a chance as a 3-star. We saw what happened with Jacobs. He became their featured guy his last year and did great things with the Oakland Raiders as a rookie this year. Kyle Edwards will have a role on this football team down the road. Seth McLaughlin, the 3-star center, undersized, about 270 pounds. It's going to take him a couple of years to beef up, get to about that 300-pound range you want to have your centers at. He's a 3-star center. And then we've got Caden Clark, the 3-star tight end, top 500 player overall. Alabama's only tight end in this class. They decide to roll with Caden Clark, bring him on campus. 3-star tight end is Caden Clark. Top 5 overall recruiting classes: Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, LSU, Ohio State. Those top 3 have been jockeying for a while. Now it kind of seems like it's Alabama and Georgia as they have surpassed Clemson in the last couple of months or so. Clemson sat on top after the early signing period back in December. Now Georgia and Alabama are jockeying for that number 1 spot. Early signing date this Wednesday. So question for you. Who will finish with, or not early signing day, but national signing day, my fault. That was in December, the early signing period. Again, when Clemson was number 1. Who will finish with the number 1 recruiting class in 2020? Will it be Alabama? It's so close between Bama and Georgia. It could be one player could be the difference, honestly. It is that close. I'm rolling with the Tide. I think Bama makes a late push, gets that number 1 class. Let me know what you guys think. Who will end up with the number 1 class?